Hey everyone, it's time to eat again, and today we are reverse searing a steak. This is the most foolproof way to get a steak cooked perfectly to a desired temperature. This method takes a little longer, but perfection is guaranteed. Today we are focused on the technique of a reverse sear and not on the seasonings, so use whatever seasoning you desire on your steak. The reverse sear method is best used on a steak that is at least 1.5 inches thick. Here we have a 1.5 inch thick New York strip that I have seasoned the night before with salt and pepper. You can marinate the steak or even apply a dry rub the night before. This will ensure that you get excellent penetration of flavor throughout the thick piece of meat. I use at least 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt per pound of meat, but most of the time I eyeball it. The more you cook steak, the better you will be at it. After a night in the fridge, bring your steak up to room temperature before popping it into a 275-degree Fahrenheit oven to bring it up to the desired cook temperature. At this step, for a rare steak, aim for 120 degrees, medium rare 125 degrees, medium 130 degrees, medium well 135 degrees, and well done 140 degrees. If you notice, these cooking temperatures are all 5 degrees under, but the steak will rise in temperature during the final step, approximately 5 degrees. When the steak exits the oven, it's going to be looking pretty gray and sad, but trust the process. We're going to make the steak happy again in just 5 minutes. There are 2 ways to sear the steak now that the desired temperature has been reached. The first method is in a cast iron skillet on the highest heat possible, and the second method is on a grill. The idea is the same either way. We're going to put the crust on the steak as quickly as we possibly can in order to prevent the internal temperature of the steak from rising any further. We don't need to control the heat at all because it is simply the highest heat available. If you are using a cast iron skillet, heat the skillet until a high smoke point oil such as avocado oil or vegetable oil begins to smoke. Then sear the steak. There is no need to blot the steak dry since the oven did that for us already. You can baste the steak with butter and use some herbs or some garlic like I am doing here, but all of that is optional. All you need to do here is get the steak nice and brown on the outside. Sear the steak front and back, top and bottom to get a beautiful crust, and we are ready to eat. If you are grilling the steak on a gas grill, preheat on high for 10 minutes to get the grates searing hot. If you are cooking several steaks, you can fire up a charcoal grill with 2 chimney starters worth of charcoal. Or if you are just cooking one steak like me, you can fill your chimney starter about halfway and place the grill grate directly on top. Sear all 4 sides of the steak to a beautiful golden brown with some char marks, and you are done. Don't be afraid to keep checking the steak and turning it to make sure that it is not burning. The heat is very high, so we have to be very careful. Now that the sear is complete, we are ready to slice immediately. The steak has not changed temperature rapidly in this step and thus does not need a resting period for the fibers to relax and the juices to reabsorb. Slice the steak, plate it, and finish it with a touch of sea salt. Getting the perfect steak at home couldn't get any easier, and that's all there is to it, a reverse seared New York strip on a soft bed of buttery mashed potatoes.